conservative podcast host Benny Johnson of The Benny Show, and progressive podcaster BTC, Brian Tyler Cohen. It's good to have you both, Brian. It's good to see you again. Benny, thanks for coming on the show.
Chris, I just want to say, Chris, and I want to congratulate Brian Tyler Cohen for making it onto President Trump's Truth Social in a clip with Bill Maher, where he celebrates President Trump's resounding success in the economy and the tariff war. Welcome to the MAGA movement, Brian. Congratulations. I'm looking forward to that anytime.
I'm not responsible for anything that Bill Maher says, and Bill Maher wants to talk to me. I'm happy to listen.
Benny, why does Brian have to be part of MAGA to be okay?
He doesn't.
But why does it matter to you so much to have it be that you are pro-MAGA or anti-MAGA?
Well, first off, it's the freedom movement and the America First movement. I think that it's something we can all agree on, that America First is something that you should be. If you live in America and love this country, then it's something that you should want to be put first. President Trump's tariff policies do that. President Trump's economic policies do that. So many of President Trump's border policies do that. And President Trump's law and order policies do that. And I assume that's the topic of this segment, but that's something that we can all agree on, right? Safer streets, a safer place to live, no more rapists or child smugglers across our border, no more 400,000 missing children, and no more presidents with dementia. That's a really good thing. That's a positive thing for the country.
Benny, does 17 million fewer Americans with health care feel like America First to you? Does $300 billion worth of less food assistance to Americans feel like America First to you? Does hospital closures in rural America feel like America First to you? Which part of this is all America First?
Again, if you want to look at hospital closures in rural America, you can go look at the Biden family that defrauded an entire chain of
you have to be able to have this conversation with
Florida,
Benny,
and
you
stole
have to be
their
able to have
money,
this
and it's the
conversation.
only check.
See,
you have to be able to have a conversation without pointing to the last president.
Hold on.
All of those points are controvertible, Brian.
Right, but it's okay that they're controvertible. It's okay that they're controvertible.
You're the guy.
Hold on, Benny. Yeah. This is why I had you guys on. It's not a point for look. I'm happy to talk policy with you guys, but I bring you here for a different moment. Okay, Benny and Brian, you guys both know me. You know my background. What happened on CNN with the description of the perp was a mistake. Okay, John Miller, who is one of the best reporters I've ever been around in my life, especially when it comes to the cops. The guy ran NYPD public affairs. You know, he ran FBI communications, LAPD communications. This guy's as wired with the cops as you'll get. They were wrong. Picture came out. They corrected the description. You say it's a race war, Benny. That bothers me. Why shouldn't it?
Well, because this is the photograph. The police scanner in New York, according to eyewitnesses, said that he was either a Middle Eastern or Indian man. And because when you give incorrect descriptions of suspects who are committing mass murder, you may well cause more murders, right, Chris? If the cops or people see a white man and think that he's the murderer, well, this is incorrect. And you could lead to real tragedy by doing this. Now, everyone saw this photo. This was a photo that was up nigh on 5 minutes after the shooting started. And so this was widely circulated on social media and on CNN's own airwaves. I'm so glad that we're talking about this, Chris. I was wanting to ask you about this. On CNN's own airwaves, there's a responsibility to ensure that the public is informed. Now, does this look like a white man?
To me, no. But I don't think John Miller had said, in fact, I don't think, I know, they hadn't seen the photo. That's why I didn't understand it. And then they corrected
the photo, Chris.
But then they corrected the description.
He says this photo's gone out to, if you watch the clip, and I have,
right,
you'll see that he tells Aaron Burnett that this photo has gone out to all the police officers, and he's describing who this individual is. This was widely circulated on social media.
But Benny, you
so if he's describing this photo, you have to assume he's talking about this photo.
Benny, you said they
no,
want a race war.
No. I didn't say that. Hold on. I said that when you're doing something like describing some an individual who's perpetrating a mass shooting, you should get the description correct because it could save lives. And I think that CNN has a responsibility
I'm fine with
to
that.
do
Of
that.
course, the guy was, the guy didn't hurt anybody else. He was already dead. But CNN wants a race war, and they're begging to
He
get
did kill five people. He killed 5 people, right? So
I,
and plus,
I,
plus
I,
in New
understand,
York,
I
New York City
understand
police
that he did it, but I'm saying
officer.
that that's not what it was about. I just
Killed
feel
a
like
lot
this is part of what I'm talking about, Brian, and we've talked about this before. I'm not just targeting Benny. I invited him on the show because I respect his platform. But I do believe that you guys are often in the weaponization business. That it's not just that Benny's wrong. Benny's dangerous. It's not just that Brian's wrong. Brian wants to destroy America. And I think it leaks into what we see around us. Brian.
Look, I think what's important here, I mean, just to focus on the issue at hand, I mean, Benny presents himself as somebody who's trying to get to the truth, right? The reality is that he is a purveyor of misinformation and disinformation and has been for years, shamelessly and relentlessly. This guy said that the 2020 election was rigged. He said the 2022 election was rigged. He said the FBI admitted that Mar-a-Lago documents raid was over nothing. He said a deep state cabal engages in predictive programming by showing shows like The Simpsons to announce their satanic plans to the world. And you had Bob Costas on before, and he mentioned the phrase, there's a profit motive, right? And the reality is that's why Benny does it. I mean, Benny benefited to the tune of how many thousands of dollars when a Russian influence campaign, Tenet Media, paid you to say whatever it is that you went out there and said, which is very similar to what you're saying right now, which is that that the Democratic Party is looking to incite a race war against white people. It's the same exact verbiage that you were using then when you were getting paid by the Russians to do it, and that you're using right now. So it's been a long stretch of disinformation.
I get the allegation. Let Benny give a response. Then I want to go to break. I want to keep talking to you guys if you have more time. But Benny, please respond before we go to break.
So first off, on the Russia allegations, the DOJ and Merrick Garland said that there was absolutely no Russian money exchange. We were doing business with an American company. That investigation, as far as I know, is still ongoing. And what you've just said there is defamatory and libelous. Now,
it's not defamatory to say that.
On the question, it absolutely is.
That Tenet Media paid
absolutely
you, Tim
It absolutely
Pool,
is
and 2 other
defamatory
people.
And libelous, and Merrick Garland has personally cleared us all of wrongdoing, myself, Tim Pool, and Dave Rubin. But let me ask you a quick question. You're saying that I want to stoke a race war. Well, Zoran Mandami, who wants to be the mayor of New York City and is the odds-on favorite mayor of New York City, Democrat candidate for mayor, says that he wants to tax white people more. Are you in favor of that, Brian?
I don't even know what you're talking about. It doesn't even sound real.
Campaign platform. This is wild. It's a campaign
His campaign platform is to tax white people more than non-white people.
What? No. Yes. In the
Tax
awkward position of defending Zoran Mandami, I'm going to go to break. But he didn't say tax white people more. He said we have to look to shift the tax burden to whiter neighborhoods that are more affluent and shift the burden from lower income benefits. Look, it didn't play well. Benny's right to jump on it, but I got to correct the record, even though I don't cover the race because my brother's in it. Benny's still hot that you said Russia paid him off when it was Tenet Media. Benny, let's just do this. Let's put a point on it so that I can ask you guys about something else. Did you know that Tenet Media got money from Russian operatives that was then used to pay you guys and other commentators? Did you know that, Benny?
No, Chris, and in a full report and a public disclosure by Merrick Garland himself, but also by the FBI, who contacted me and told me that I was the victim of a crime, Merrick Garland cleared all creators and hosts of wrongdoing, including myself, Tim Pool, and Dave Rubin, along with other hosts.
Now, I always thought what was interesting about it was that they thought that the programming that you guys were doing anyway was good to advance the division cause in America that they covet. What do you think of that suggestion?
I was never told once, and never did once, and never will for the rest of my life follow orders from anyone for what I say on my show. I own 100% of my company, and I own 100% of the words that I say.
I agree. I'm saying that's what I always found interesting, that they were willing to pay for you what you wanted to say anyway, because I think they liked the effect of it. But let's talk about how it channels into our daily life.
Can I ask a quick question then to Benny's point of him owning 100% of the words that he says? I brought up a bunch of lies that you had said before, like the 2020 election was rigged, the 2022 election was rigged, that the Mar-a-Lago raid was over nothing. Do you own all of those lies?
Well, those are opinions.
Those are opinions, and those are my opinions. And yes,
That the 2020 election was rigged and the 2022 election was rigged, and that the
Yeah,
FBI Mar-a-Lago
it
documents
could be
raid was over
wrong, but
nothing?
it's still an opinion.
I have sources that in
do
the
you
coming
think that
days we're going to find out a great deal about the 2020 election, and we're going to find a considerable amount of criminality out of it.
Better
And
not
we
just
had
be
a show
Michael
today.
Flynn.
How about
Better
how
not
about
just
this
be
one?
Michael Flynn, Benny. But let me ask you something else, because I believe
we
that
had-
we're demonstrating
Chris,
a little
hold
bit
on,
of the
Chris,
toxicity.
if you're going to allow Brian to continue his line of questioning, please, if you would. This was so much fun to ask Brian about Zorhan Mandami wanting to tax whiter people in white neighborhoods more in
I
New
clarified
York.
it.
Do you agree with that, Brian?
I
Do I
clarified
On
agree?
his campaign website, and he doubled down on it on MSNBC. And I'm shocked that you don't know that. I thought you were somebody who really
You're going to
paid
ask
attention
me.
to these
You're
kind of
going
things.
to you're going to ask me if I'm in favor of taxing more affluent communities at a higher rate. Yes, I'm of course. I'm of course in favor of taxing wealthier people at a
can
higher
you
rate.
guys
so that
both
they can pay
agree?
their
Very
share.
quickly here, very quickly, I'm glad that we got that. Fine, you're entitled to your opinion. I think that it's wrong. And the DOJ, Harmeet Dillon, who's in charge of the Civil Rights Division, has publicly said that that may be racist and may be criminal, but that's okay to admit that, Brian.
Well, then let me
here's
ask
a
you
quick
about
question.
this. Let me ask you this.
Given the last, just really fast, given since we're on Zorhan Mandami and Chris
We're
can't
not
answer,
on him.
we're asked the
I
question.
never even talk about him because my brother's
Do you
running
believe
against
that
him,
in the
Benny?
wake of the shooting in New York, that the police should be defunded because he believes that they're not queer enough. Those are his exact words. And he mocked NYPD officers crying in their cop cars. Do you agree with that?
Do I agree that we should defund the police? No. Let me ask you a question.
No,
then.
wait, hold on a second.
Do
I don't
you-
want to hear
do
any
you-
more of your questions.
Do you adhere, do
No
you
more
adhere to
questions.
your words from September of 2024,
I
Benny, where you
want to
said,
ask a question. Here's
Let me
why,
ask
Brian.
one- last
no,
one,
no
Chris,
more.
last one.
Brian, here's
I
why.
promise. This one's a good one.
Brian, it's not a good one. Here's the problem. It'll work. It'll work for the relative assessment of you guys, but I'm telling you, it's killing us. It's killing us. Because you guys, it's great competitive banter, and you're building your own followings, and you're formidable, each and all of you as a group. But I'm telling you, it is straining what we are supposed to be focused on, which is what are the common concerns. I'm telling you, nothing escapes. That Cincinnati fight that happened, the assault on the ground, I would have bet anything that I own that it was immediately going to be made into, hey, you know, if you flip the races, everybody would be upset about this. But when a bunch of black people beat up a couple of white people, nobody seems to care. When you know, Benny, Brian, that's not the way regular people think. Regular people think a group of anybody beats up a couple of anybody, it's a problem. People in their ordinary lives don't make things about race. We make it about race in the media for advantage. And do you guys worry? Benny, do you ever worry, man, I may be breaking something here that I can't fix. I may be getting people angry at people, and it's going to get out of control. I'm making them too angry. Do you ever worry about that?
By bringing light to what happened in Cincinnati, where a middle-aged couple was beaten savagely in an attempted murder. Did you see the woman, Chris, who got punched? She's probably the age of our mothers, and she got punched and leveled on the ground. It could have been anybody's mom. She's actually a single mother and a small business owner in Ohio. Here she is on the screen.
Yeah,
She's knocked out cold.
I'm not,
and she hit the
Benny,
she hit the
I'm not
cement.
telling
So
you, do you think it's
bringing
wrong to
attention
punch a lady
this.
in the face? That's
No
not what I'm
one
saying. That's not
covered
the
it,
attention
Chris.
you brought to it. No. Of course we covered
Chris,
it.
nobody
But that's not
covered
the
it.
point.
No, there
It's
were no
about
stories
how
about it.
it was covered. Of course there were stories about it here at NewsNation. But that's not the point. The point is how it's covered. Why is the
NewsNation an
race
exceptional
relevant?
news network.
Why is race relevant? Why do we have to make it relevant? Why do things have to be weaponized? That's what I don't understand.
Sure. Well, the DOJ has said that this may look like a race crime, and it may have looked like targeting, and so there may have been an element there. And it was confusing to people online because there was no authority saying anything about this. Now, if you check the actual crime statistics, you'll find that in this area of Cincinnati, crime has tripled from 2023. Reports that she couldn't even get an ambulance, Chris. And I don't think that any American wants to live in a zero-trust society. What we're describing here is a failed state, a zero-trust society.
I'm with you, but you called it terrorism. How is it terrorism?
I called what happened in New York terrorism.
Oh, I thought you called what happened in Cincinnati terrorism.
I think that what happened in New York was terrorism.
Well, terrorism in New York, I give you, because the guy seemed to be advancing a political agenda, but not in Cincinnati.
That's right. That's right.
It just seemed to be bad people on the street in a group.
Yeah, I don't think that I framed that as terrorism, but I do think that it was a savage, brutal mob attack.
Yeah, I agree.
That took advantage, and nobody wants to live in a zero trust society. Vivek Ramaswamy is running for governor. He's spoken with the victims. I haven't. And so I'm going to depend on what he has to say about this. There were no police officers there. The woman couldn't even get an ambulance. She is suffering horribly. And nobody wants that to be their mother laid out in the street. I mean, listen, this is a young man who clocked this woman in the jaw. There's no defense for it.
I know, but Benny, who's defending it? That's my point.
I'm not going to worry.
Benny,
I think that bringing light to it is important, and I really hope that these criminals...
But you seem to be making it seem like it doesn't matter as much because the victims are white, and I just don't think that's right. Not only do I think it's right, I think it's dangerous. I think that you wind up pushing people to want to believe something that isn't there. Why? Why do that?
I don't what do you mean? I don't think people
Chris,
care about it because the victims are white. I don't understand. I think that it's terrible when it happens in the inner city in Chicago. We regularly post the crime statistics from inner city Chicago, black on black crime, which is absolutely out of control. There's like a dozen murders last weekend. It's horrible, and nobody wants to live in a zero trust society. Nobody wants to live in a failed state.
Do you believe that you are helping build trust or destroy trust?
Oh, absolutely build trust, because there are certain stories that aren't covered factually. For instance, there's this old CNN host. His name was Chris Cuomo, and he said during the George Floyd riots, whoever said that protests need to be peaceful? Right. And I think that that's a crazy thing to say.
I know, because you took it out of context, which is exactly what I'm talking about. Look, even if I weren't a lawyer and a highly decorated one, the idea that I don't understand peaceable assembly is a silly notion unless you want to weaponize it. What I said was, when people came out in the initial protests of George Floyd, not the riots, okay? And once you touch person or property, a protest becomes a riot. And I got in a lot of heat for saying that because people have different feelings about it, but that's too bad. That's the law. When they were saying ugly things to cops, people were upset about it and said they should go home. They shouldn't talk to cops like that. And I said, what do you want them to just sing slave hymns and go back home and say nice things? People are going to be angry. They're going to say angry things when things like this happen. Whoever said that you're going to go out there and just be peaceful. I meant the language. It got weaponized and twisted, and I'm okay with that. I signed up for it by being in the media. But Benny, it's also a little bit gratuitous. Brian, do you think we need to be better before I end this show?
And Benny, oldies.
No,
just
I'm just well, I mean,
here's the deal.
Look, it's just the truth, Benny. I can't make you believe it. I can only tell you. Brian, go ahead.
I think Benny knows what he's doing, and Donald Trump is a demagogue, and this is what the right does. The right knows exactly what it's doing. They'll play dumb, like Benny's doing right now, and pretend that race doesn't factor into what they're doing. They expressly exploit divisions within communities, within colors of people. That's why the right has gone after black people, and then they've gone after gay people, and now they're going after trans people. They will other people. They will attempt to otherize everybody so that they can keep attention off of.
I think it's because it works. I think you got your slice too, Brian, who are going after Jews.
Well, I mean, I
not
go
you,
after.
But I'm saying there is a part of the left wing that is highly anti-Semitic, not just anti-Zionist, anti-Semitic.
And look, I think it's wrong, and I don't do it. And I wish I could say the same thing for the guy on the other side of the screen.
I think we got to be better, and that's why I wanted you guys on. I got to jump because unlike podcasts,
it's wild to hear Brian Tyler Cohen represent this worldview that is currently celebrating Luigi Mangione. You know, I was out in...
No, he would never do that. He would never do that. That guy is a murderer all day long. Murderer all day long. Everybody knows that. But, Benny, no need for cheap shots here. You're always welcome to have time. It's not a podcast, so I can't go on for hours. But I can have you back. And I want to keep the dialogue going. And in the interim, you guys can say whatever you want about me. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. Even though, Benny, I wasn't impressed with what you were benching the other day. Looked like lightweight, brother. Looked like lightweight.
265 is twice as much as Eric Swalwell.
You better look lightweight. I literally shoulder pressed that.
There's a scandal online. There's a scandal now where there's
elbows are way too out. You're going to hurt yourself, Benny. You're going to hurt yourself.
Can Brian Tyler and I
what are the orange plates?
We'll do a bench off next time. There
Benny,
you go.
The orange plates. What are the orange plates, man?
Be well. I don't even know that was.
Pounders.
I don't even know what that was, Benny. But I have to get to Leland Vittert right now. Benny Johnson, thank you. Brian Tyler Cohen, thank you. Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.